So I think it's safe to say LeBron not really threatened by Marcus Smart during this exchange last night. What do you guys think?
Come on, little fella, be for real.
Right?
You know you don't want none of this.
He gave him the stank face, basically, there. You know, LeBron's come a long way from when Deshaun Stevenson and Lance Stevenson tried to get in his head.
Right? No, it's just like, I just like LeBron could basically, with a look,
you don't want none of this.
Crush you. All right, welcome to The Jump. I'm Rachel Nichols. We are wrapping up 2016 here. Three-time NBA champ Byron Scott, that never gets old to say. Our insider, George Sedano. And guys, look, let's be honest. It's Friday.
Yep.
It's December 30th. No one out there wants to do any substantive work. We see you. What they really want to do is sit around, look at some killer basketball highlights. So, hey, LeBron James very nicely has accommodated us by having a birthday today. That just gives us carte blanche. We have an excuse. We're just going to show you a bunch of awesome video. You know, this conversation actually started with LeBron, who does turn 32 today. He was asked to compare himself to Michael Jordan at the same age. And it really is an interesting inflection point to look at the numbers because Michael had won 3 titles by 32, and guess what? Same for LeBron. And because LeBron didn't have to go through that, whole pesky college thing first, he has already racked up more points, rebounds, and assists than MJ. Not to mention, he does have one additional one of those shiny MVP trophies. So if what LeBron told us this summer is true, and he really is chasing Michael Jordan's ghost, Michael Jordan, not dead, but that's what he said, to see who is the most dominant player of all time. It was news to Michael Jordan when he said that. That's all I'm saying.
Not dead?
He is at least on the way, right, to making a case for himself. Now, that being said, LeBron does feel that's where the similarities stop. He gave a quote yesterday on their actual playing styles. He was having none of the comparison.
He was much more of a scorer, and at that point, did a lot of post work at that point in time. But our games were just different. His body is different. My body is different than his.
All right, so who does LeBron compare to in the way he plays? I mean, he's obviously, right, guy's got a lot of magic in his game, the court vision, the passes, the way he controls the floor.
Who's that guy in that shot?
Look at that. We also have, producer Danny called this morning LeBron the rich man's Pippen, which is maybe the first time he's been called that.
Wow.
Certainly defensively, you can see Scotty's influence on LeBron. We could run a half dozen of these chase down blocks, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
It's good. And then Cavs coach Ty Lue, his comparison was he thought LeBron has the same explosiveness as Dominique Wilkins. Another compliment.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't think there's any question when you talk about one of the greatest dunkers of all time and finishers. I mean, that's LeBron, too.
Right, and of course, you got to throw in Dr. J, as far as I'm concerned. If you're going to talk about athleticism, boom, there you go. And Oscar Robertson, look, we keep talking about Oscar in reference to Russell Westbrook right now because of the triple-doubles. But let's be honest, all a triple-double is a way of measuring all-around influence in a basketball game. And that is probably the most LeBron James thing of all. The best thing you can say about LeBron is he does everything exceptionally well. He can play 1 through 5, guard 1 through 5, score when he has to, facilitate when he has to. And look, his leadership skills have improved every year he has been in the league. At 32, he now has better numbers than he did at this point last season. Oh, and by the way, along the way, he did happen to topple a 73-win team led by a 2-time MVP, thanks to the best NBA Finals comeback in history. So, it's possible that he's actually comparable to no one. Of course, that's not going to stop all of us from trying. All right, so guys, who do you think influenced LeBron the most? I mean, we saw a highlight there, Byron, that you may have something to say about.
You know who I'm going to say.
Go ahead. Do it.
You know I'm going to say Irvin Magic Johnson.
Of course.
I mean, we just talked about it. He can guard 1 through 5. Magic Johnson can guard 1 through 5 back in the day. He can play every position. Magic Johnson could play every position back in the day. He can facilitate. We know Magic was the best facilitator of all times. His vision. We know Magic's vision was the best. Now, you add the fact that, like LeBron said, he can score when he wanted to. Believe me, Irvin Magic Johnson back in the day could average 25 points a game if he wanted to. And then you look at the other thing I compare him to is that these 2 great football players who also played college basketball, Tony Gonzalez and Tony Gates, were 2 of the best tight ends ever.
Yes.
Put LeBron, and I've always said this about LeBron James.
Right?
He is a tight end in a basketball uniform.
Yep.
He would have been untouchable in the NFL as well. And we already know he's untouchable on the basketball court.
Well, remember, he had that flag football game, him and Kevin Durant. So he feels like he is a receiver of sorts.
He is.
So there's that. Now, I'm with you on Magic. I'm with you on Oscar Robertson.
Right.
I would throw in the upper body or the body frame of a Karl Malone. I would add that into the equation. Because LeBron is built like a truck. I don't think we've seen a guy as chiseled as LeBron since this guy right here, the mailman, Karl Malone, who was built like a brick house. So that's the other part of the equation that I would throw in there. I would throw that LeBron's strength is only rivaled of that of a guy who's one of the greatest power forwards of all time.
Yeah,
well, I would agree with you there as well. And one thing that I left out with LeBron is we talk about his athleticism, but his speed and his quickness is unmatched when you look at somebody his size. And Karl might be the closest guy to him when you talk about those two elements of his game as well.
And he's 32. I mean, he pointed out yesterday to reporters, he said, I'm like a fine wine. I just keep aging well. I don't know how many more years we have of this version of LeBron, but it's looking good this year. As I said, his numbers are better than last year.
Looks real good right now.
And let's keep enjoying it as long as we can, too.
Absolutely. I love that you brought up those flag football games because I did notice those flag football games stopped when Durant became more of a threat to LeBron. It was like, oh, look, I want to help him out. We'll have some fun.
Work out with him in the offseason. That's all done. See you later.
That's what true competitors do, though.
I can't imagine why. I don't know why I was down there.
You're getting a little too close.
Exactly. All right, let's turn our attention to last night's game in Cleveland. The Cavs had an 18-point lead at the start of the fourth quarter, but they did have some trouble putting the Celtics away. Boston pulled to within one 3 times in the final 2 minutes. They did end up falling 124 to 118. So, George, you could kind of look at it either way. Did the Celtics losing that way to the Cavs tell you they're close, or they're not really remotely close?
Yeah, I don't believe they're remotely close. I look at this team, and I think they're really good. I just don't think they're great. And to be a championship contender, which is what Danny Ainge and everybody in Boston wants, you have to be that. They're missing a couple of elements, Byron. I think that they're missing a real wing. Now, maybe Jaylen Brown turns into that guy. Or maybe that Nets pick that they have turns into that guy. They need that, but I also feel like they need a real post presence. They need a rim protector, a guy who can give them easy buckets. That's just not what Al Horford does. Right. So you look at a guy like DeMarcus Cousins, right? Could they trade for him using that Nets pick? Or maybe even a Hassan Whiteside, where maybe you don't have to give up the Nets pick, but someone like that and a wing, and then all of a sudden we can talk about them being a championship team.
Could they trade for anyone is what Celtics fans want to know. They've been waiting on this big trade day he's going to pull off for a couple seasons.
I think they could because they got so many draft picks that they can use in a trade that are very attractive to a lot of teams. But I agree with you, George, is the fact that they are a very good basketball team. And I said this when Al signed with them this offseason, that's a great piece to the puzzle. But he's not a game changer, but he's a great piece to the puzzle. So they've taken another step forward, in the Eastern Conference, which is very slim anyway. There's no team in the Eastern Conference that I look at right now that's going to challenge Cleveland for a championship as far as the Eastern Conference is concerned. But the Boston Celtics and Toronto, those two teams can make it interesting. But still, at the end of the day, Cleveland's still the favorite.
Rachel, they're like a baseball team that has a bunch of 2 and 3 starters.
Right.
They don't have the number one. Right. Like Isaiah Thomas and Al Horford are good players, all-star type players, but they're not a definitive number one guy.
Yeah, I mean, the Celtics are now 0-6 against the top 2 teams in either conference. Not there. Rough night for the Raptors the past couple nights, too. So the Cavs, again, distinguishing themselves as the class of the conference. Not that we didn't know that already. Let's talk about the Lakers. LA outscored 31-13 in the third quarter last night at home to the Mavs. Dallas, not a good basketball team this year, and yet the Lakers did still manage to lose to them. Their 14th loss in the last 16 games. And afterward, Coach Luke Walton said, quote, as a team, we're going to be fun. We're going to figure it out. But when is the question? How much does it mean to us right now to figure it out? Do we want to do it now, or do we want to wait 2 or 3 years? Take a look. The Lakers hold the worst record in the league in the month of December, 2-14. This is after they were 10-10 heading into the month. So, Byron, if you look at Luke's equation here, are we going to figure it out right now, or is it going to take 2 or 3 years? Where are you putting your money?
Well, it's going to take 2 or 3 years. Now, when he said, do we want to wait? We all know LA fans don't want to wait.
Yeah.
And if they wanted to wait, I wouldn't probably be sitting here with you guys. So I'm just saying.
Hey,
so
listen, you're being honest.
Listen, they don't want to wait.
Yeah.
I understand what he's saying, but you're going to have to. Unless they can make a trade or like you said, make that draft pick that can come in right away and be a game changer. They're going to have to wait for these young guys to continue to develop. And they will. They will develop. They'll get better and better. but they are still a year or 2 or 3 away from being a team that can contend in the playoffs.
I'm with Byron. That first month of the season was a little fool's gold there, basically. They dealt with some injuries, then they had to play 8 and 9 guys for about 2 weeks, and this team isn't built for that. There's a reason those guys weren't set out to play those type of minutes. But what is a real progression here? Isn't 30 wins, shouldn't that be enough for this team? And I still feel like they're on a path for 30 wins potentially. That would be a really good season for them. You're talking about a 13-win improvement.
Well, I mean, I think part of what Lou's talking about is he's just looking for some fight from the individual guys. He said in his post-third quarter and in between the third and fourth quarters last night, he was like, I thought we would fight more than this. And I think that's when he's looking at the individual players, guys like D'Angelo. He wants to see some of that individual growth. What do you expect?
Yeah, I think that's exactly what he wants to see. You can't settle in on accepting losing.
Right.
When you lose a game, and we can go back to the 80s and the 90s, like when we lost 2 in a row, it was like the world was coming to an end.
Really?
You got to have that type of intensity every single night. When you lose a game or you lose 2 in a row, 3 in a row, whatever the case may be, you got to come in like it's game 7, the next game. Leave it all out there on the table. And I don't think that's what he's getting right now for the young guys. They're kind of settling in. And I still think they're in that figure-it-out stage. It's still early in the marriage. They're still trying to figure it all out. But it is going to take some time, so people just have to be patient.
Byron, the reality is this, and Rachel, is that they brought in some veteran guys like Lou Deng and Timothy Mozgov, but they're not the best players on the team. And to change that type of culture, the guys who are the best players on that team have to change that culture.
You need a leader.
Yeah. And patience, apparently.
And patience.
And patience.
Lots of it.
Yeah, no doubt.
Change shot. Walker, long 3. Trickled off. Kimber, don't start dancing. No, baby.
Yeah, I like Kemba Walker so much, but that was unfortunate.
Tony Fiorentino did a nice job there. No dancing, baby.
That was good. Don't shimmy. Nah, man, you don't shimmy unless you know it's in.
You can see it through the...
Wait till it goes in the hole, then you start shimmying.
You were talking to the break about Swaggy P.
Yeah, look, that reminded me of that Nick Young shot back in 2014, right? So Swaggy takes the shot, he throws his hands up like, oh, but at least Byron, you said it.
He turned around and checked to see if it went in.
Right.
He caught himself. He caught him quickly. Now, Kemba was like, oh, this is all good. I don't have to worry about any of this.
Dedicated. I know myself.
But I will give Kemba more credit because I love the swagger he puts into it. Kind of like Antoine Walker with a little shimmy. Right. To me, if you can shimmy like Antoine Walker can shimmy, you deserve some love.
There's a little hip movement there, too.
Yeah. Antoine was the king of the shimmy.
It went in.
Right,
you can shimmy.
Then you can shimmy.
Yes.
You can get it done.
He was the king of the shimmy.
He was,
exactly.
man. Antoine was the best at that stuff.
Let's move on to another guy who gets it done, Russell Westbrook. He was ejected in the third quarter last night. Not as much getting it done. It was because he was arguing with the refs over whether the shot clock should have been reset or not. Afterward, he was not happy. Take a listen.
It's just crazy, man, especially for me, because I feel like, I don't get the benefit of that most of the time, especially throughout the game with refs. And I get so many texts just for talking. I can't even say nothing when I'm getting hammered every time I go to the damn basket throughout the games and previous games, not tonight, but every night. And I just don't get refs the same way as other people, and I don't appreciate it.
Now, Westbrook might actually have a point about how he's officiated. He leads the league in technical fouls, which frankly is a remarkable accomplishment in a world that Boogie Cousins also lives in. It is possible he is such an aggressive player. There's a bit too much of a hair trigger in calling these texts on him. And frankly, in general, I think the NBA needs to lighten up on the language texts. I get being respectful to the officials, but we're all grown adults here, right? Including the refs. Enough with these you hurt my feeling technicals. They can handle a stray curse word or two. All that being said, can we go a week here, please, without some big star in the NBA complaining that he doesn't get the calls or does get the calls or isn't getting calls he should be getting? Paul George did it the other day to such a degree he got fined $15,000. Now it's Westbrook who, takes so much contact every time he drives the lane. He probably could get even more calls than he does, but guess what? He already leads the league in free throw attempts per game. So there's an argument to just take the win and move on. And let us move on. On our website today, our Grace Young noted that a year ago, Westbrook said he sat down, he actually watched every tech he got for arguing from the previous season and tried to let it sink in that not once did the officials change their minds. At the time, he said he had resolved he was going to stop complaining. You may want to check back in on that. George, where are you on this?
Well, listen, I agree with you. I think that we could sit here and dissect every play and say everyone deserves more calls, right? When you were playing and coaching, I'm sure you wanted more calls.
Absolutely.
That's just kind of the way this thing works.
Right.
But when we just came off this whole 2-minute report thing with Golden State and Cleveland, I think Kevin Durant made a good point, which is, and LeBron too for that matter, which is we're kind of scrutinizing these guys even a little too much. They're all human, and they're going to make some mistakes. You're going to miss some stuff, even with 3 referees. It's why we're experimenting in the D-League with 4 and 5 referees. But
do we need more calls? Do we
right,
really need
that's
that?
kind of my point. I almost feel like that hurts the game more if we're stopping play and getting to the line. He's leading the league in free throw attempts enough. Like, Russ, I love you, but come on, pump the brakes on this one.
You give Westbrook a pass? You think he's right?
I do give him a pass because
Okay.
I do think he's right to a certain extent, and I agree with George. He is leading the league in free throw attempts, so you can't complain too much.
Come on.
But we all know Russ. You know, this is one of the fiery guys in this league. He plays with so much passion, and he loves the competition. He loves the game. You know, so as a referee, you know, you got to sometimes, you know, hold your brakes as well because you do know who you're talking to.
Right.
You know, this guy is very passionate and sometimes he's very emotional. You know, so he's going to say some things just in the heat of the moment. And sometimes as a referee, you got to let that go. You know, so you got to understand, as a referee, you get scouting reports too. So you know when Russell's out there, he's going to probably get a little heated over certain calls. And sometimes as a ref, like I said, you got to let it go. But Russ, you can't complain too much because you are leading the league. So just kind of, you know.
Let's everybody just take it down
just like
a notch.
a lot of just all get along.
A lot of young
That's
refs
all.
in the league,
Just
by
keep
the
it all
way.
get along.
That could be the case too. A lot of
They
young
just
refs
don't
in
know
the
it.
league.
Yes,
They
they
don't know
want
it.
to assert themselves,
Right.
and I get that. But
Yeah.
we've all heard the curse words before. We don't have to get in our fainting couches. It's all good. All right.